You ever have one of those days where you just want to go back in time? Not to fix a mistake, not to say something you didn't get to say. No. I wanted to go back 3 weeks and just swap out my husband for a complete stranger. Even a bad stranger. A thief. A con artist. A guy who sold our furniture for drug money. Anything. Because what I came home to was so much worse than a simple crime. I came home to chaos. And frankly, I wish he'd just cheated instead. I know. It sounds insane. But hear me out. 3 weeks ago, I left for a work trip. It was a big one, a conference that would lock me away in a hotel for what felt like a lifetime. I'd be in meetings from dawn until dusk, networking dinners that lasted until the early morning hours, presentations, seminars, the whole 9 yards. I asked my husband, Mark, if he wanted to come with me. Nah, he said, a grin on his face. He was sprawled on the couch, surrounded by video game controllers and a pile of what looked like half-eaten Doritos. I'll hang back. I'll get a little gaming in, order some pizzas, maybe finally tackle that garage mess you've been on my case about. He's 41, by the way. A grown man. A man with a job, a mortgage, a credit score. He's an adult. I looked at him, at the scruff on his chin and the mismatched socks, and I thought, he'll be fine. He was not fine. Not even a little. The first few days, the texts were normal. Just beat level 7, he'd write. Pizza's here. I miss you, babe. Standard stuff. I was busy, so I'd send a quick heart emoji or a miss you too back. The first sign of trouble came on day 2. My phone buzzed with a picture message. It was a shot of our backyard. And in the center of the lawn, a dark, sooty, ominous-looking stain. What is that? I texted back. My new grill, he replied. You don't have a grill, Mark. I do now. I called him, my stomach starting to twist. He picked up on the 3rd ring, his voice cheerful, oblivious. Babe, what's up? What is on the lawn? I asked. He laughed. Oh, that. So I decided to become a grill master. You know, like one of those guys on YouTube with the cool backyard setups. I saw this video where they just put a bunch of baking sheets on top of each other. It's like a DIY grill. It's genius. You set a fire on our lawn? No. I just tried to. I put 3 baking sheets on top of each other, poured a little lighter fluid on, and, well, the smoke alarm went off for like 40 minutes. The oven still smells like gasoline, by the way. Oh, and our lawn is a little, well, it's a little charred. But you can barely tell from a distance. I just sighed. Don't do that again. Don't worry, he said. I've moved on to a new project. I should have asked what the new project was. But I didn't. I was too busy with my conference. So I just said, okay, I love you. Stay safe. On day 5, I got a text that just said, don't worry. The new project is working. We only need 1 bowl. My stomach went cold. This was not a normal Mark text. This was a what have you done now text. I called him. What did you do? Oh, you're gonna love this, he said, his voice full of a pride I knew was misplaced. I went on a deep dive on TikTok last night, and I saw this video about minimalist living. You know, decluttering, living with less. It's genius. So much wasted space. So I figured, what do we really need? One of everything, right? I mean, who needs 3 different types of spatulas? 100 forks? 10 different sized plates? Mark, don't tell me you threw our dishes away. I'm not gonna lie to you, babe, he said, his voice dropping to a serious, confessional tone. I threw away half our dishes. It was a lot of dishes. A lot of clutter. We're so much more zen now. Which dishes did you get rid of? I asked, my voice dangerously calm. Oh, you know, the big serving platters, the tiny espresso cups, all the forks with the bent tines, the saucers, all the cereal bowls except for 2. Wait. 2 bowls? Yeah. 1 for me, 1 for you. Simple. Elegant. Minimalist. Which 2? I asked, my blood pressure climbing. He paused. The sound of crickets chirping filled the silence on his end of the line. Well, I kept the big one. You know, the wooden salad bowl we got on our honeymoon. I figured that's good for, like, everything. Cereal, soup, whatever. And I kept the dog's water dish. It's got a good, sturdy base. I closed my eyes. Mark, you threw away our entire dish set except for a salad bowl and the dog's water bowl? Yep, he said cheerfully. And I repurposed the dog's water dish for my cold burritos. Cold burritos? Yeah. I ordered a whole bunch of frozen burritos online. It was a bulk deal. Like, 20 of them. Saves money. I don't even heat them up anymore. Saves electricity. I just let them thaw for a few minutes and eat them. It's basically a cold wrap. I hung up the phone. I just couldn't. My work trip, which had felt like a tedious necessity, suddenly felt like a prison. I couldn't just leave. My job was on the line. I was a hostage to my career, and my husband was a hostage to his own insanity. The next week was a blur. Every time I called, a new, bizarre detail would emerge. Day 8, he told me he was now an urban forager. I pictured him in our suburban neighborhood, crouched in a bush, gnawing on a dandelion. It turned out he'd ordered a kit online and was trying to grow edible mushrooms in our shower. He'd sent me a picture of what looked like a damp, hairy growth on the side of our tub. I just didn't respond. Day 10, he stopped doing laundry. He told me he was cycling between 2 pairs of basketball shorts. By the time I came home, I would discover that those 2 pairs of shorts had fused into a single, stiff, denim-adjacent garment. It was less of an item of clothing and more of a monument to his singular lack of hygiene. The dog, a fluffy golden retriever named Buster, would start growling every time Mark sat down. Buster, my sweet, gentle boy, had developed an entirely new personality. He had seen combat. Day 12, I got a text that just said, Mozart slapped. That's it. Just. Mozart slapped. No context. I was in a meeting, so I couldn't respond. I didn't think about it again. I should have. I really should have. Day 14, my coworker, Sarah, noticed something was off. You look exhausted, she said as we sat in the hotel bar, nursing a drink. My husband is home alone, I said, and the words just came tumbling out. And I think I don't know. Having a total breakdown. He's throwing away our dishes, trying to grill on the lawn, and now he's apparently into Mozart, which I guess is fine, but it's so out of character. Sarah laughed. Sounds like he's just being a guy. My husband did the same thing when I was gone for a week. I came home to a bunch of broken furniture and an electric bill that would make your eyes water. I smiled weakly. Yeah. Just being a guy. You know. But it wasn't just being a guy. This was something else. This was a slow, methodical descent into a madness I didn't recognize. The conference finally ended. The last flight was delayed. I got home late, my body aching with a bone-deep weariness that had nothing to do with the flight and everything to do with the anxiety that had been gnawing at me for 3 weeks. I fumbled with the key in the lock. The house was dark, but a faint, rhythmic sound was coming from inside. It was a high-pitched, wavering sound. Like a dying seagull. Or a cat that was stuck in a washing machine. I pushed the door open. The smell hit me first. A noxious cocktail of burnt plastic, ranch dressing, and something I couldn't place. It was acrid and greasy and vaguely metallic. I followed the sound to the living room. The lights were off, but the glow of the television screen illuminated the scene. And there he was. My husband. Shirtless. He was sitting on the floor, in a nest of discarded video game cases and what looked like a dozen empty bags of frozen burritos. He was holding a small, black, flute. No. A recorder. A plastic recorder, the kind they make kids learn to play in elementary school. He was playing it. Badly. The sound was just awful. He was swaying back and forth, a beatific smile on his face, eyes fixed on the television screen where a YouTube video titled Mozart's Greatest Hits was playing. The television screen was cracked. A big, spiderweb-like fissure radiated from the center of the screen, right over Mozart's face. Hey, babe, he said, his eyes still fixed on the screen. He lifted the recorder to his lips and blew, producing a sound that was so flat and off-key it was almost impressive. What is going on? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He lowered the recorder, a thoughtful expression on his face. Oh, this. I ordered a recorder off Amazon. It's got this great minimalist design. No bells and whistles. And you were right. Mozart really does slap. I looked around the room. There was a faint scorch mark on the coffee table. The television screen was cracked. The air smelled like burnt plastic. What happened to the TV? I asked. He looked at the screen, as if noticing the crack for the first time. Oh, that. So, I was trying to make a new kind of popcorn. You know, with, like, a blowtorch. The bag caught fire and I threw it at the TV to put it out. I just stared at him. The man I had left 3 weeks ago was a normal, if slightly lazy, video game playing adult. The man who sat before me was a modern-day savage, a man who had set a fire in our house, destroyed our belongings, and was now playing a recorder shirtless while the scent of burnt popcorn and gasoline lingered in the air. And that's when it hit me. He hadn't cheated. He hadn't been unfaithful. If he had, it would have been so normal. So standard. A problem I knew how to solve. A conversation I knew how to have. But this was uncharted territory. This was a psychological battlefield I was not prepared for. The next morning, I woke up to a new, unsettling discovery. Mark was mumbling in his sleep. I leaned in, trying to make out what he was saying. I thought maybe he was talking about a dream, or a video game. But the words were clearer now. I am the burrito. He mumbled it again. I am the burrito. He then lifted his arm and slowly, meticulously, licked his forearm, as if trying to taste a condiment that wasn't there. I recoiled in horror. The dog, who had relocated to the bathtub, peeked his head over the edge, an expression of pure, unadulterated fear on his face. He wouldn't come out. Not for me, not for a treat, not for anything. He had seen too much. So now, here I am. Sitting in a cafe. Sipping coffee like it's communion wine, and I'm in desperate need of a blessing. The barista asked if I wanted almond milk. I just said, no, my house is already a nut-based chaos. My husband is now a minimalist, a grill master, a musician, a forager, a cold burrito connoisseur, and some kind of sentient burrito. He has declared war on our possessions and our sanity. And I'm just a woman with a tired soul and a dog who looks like he's seen combat. A dog who now prefers the cold, hard surface of the bathtub to the soft, warm comfort of his own bed. Hope your morning's less smoky. Because mine is just beginning. And I have no idea how I'm going to clean up this particular mess.